there's a great reputation for Rutgers. After visiting, after talking to Coach Goodell, after seeing the facilities and the sparring partners and all the resources that Rutgers has, that was a big factor for me. Great guys on the team, great coaching staff, so can't complain about that. All of that definitely helps an athlete to kind of stay positive and stay like in a good spirit during the year.
What's up, everybody? We're back, Breakdown from the Barn, episode 55. We got a big guest today, literally a big guest. We got Yaraslau Slavikouski here, Rutgers NCAA All American, coming to us from Freehold today. How you doing, Yara?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you guys?
We're living it. We're doing great.
Living the dream. So we'll jump right in. We talked about the last couple episodes how Rutgers has always tried to build a wrestling program by keeping the guys home in New Jersey, keeping it local. Well, this year we had two All-Americans. One was Ohio, and one you got to go a little further west out to Belarus, and that's where you come from, Yar. So why don't you give us a little background in terms of what it was like growing up, a little bit for a lot of the obviously a lot of the fans who know Rutgers wrestling, who got to know you over the last year or so. Kind of give them a little background in terms of growing up in Belarus.
Absolutely. As you said, I grew up in Belarus. I lived there, I think, until I was 16, 17. I was originally from a small town. It's called Rechica in the Gomel region, south part of Belarus, close to Ukraine. Grew up in a small family, very small family, humble beginnings. I had just my mom and my older brother. Went to a regular public school, nothing fancy. The prep school and all that fancy stuff came in later in life, unexpectedly. But yeah, got into wrestling when I was 9 by my brother. Before that, I kind of did swimming, a little bit of everything. And then my brother introduced me to wrestling. And I just fell in love with the sport. And later on, it opened up a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities for me.
Yeah. So, and your brother was a successful wrestler too, I believe.
He wrestled, but he then later on switched to kickboxing, Muay Thai. So he was a world champ, European champion kickboxing. Some people confuse it with wrestling and think that he's a world champion in wrestling, but no, in kickboxing.
He's got to do MMA then. Got to get him out there.
That's awesome.
It's still too late for him. But
yeah. How is he the one that always see at the matches? Is he here in the U.S.? Who's the guy that's always with you at the matches?
He's been to a couple matches, not all of them, but last year, I think during the Christmas break, he was able to visit. So we went to Penn State match, UPenn State, UPenn match, and then maybe one more together. Yeah. So hopefully this year he'll be able to come to NCAA with me. So
that's awesome, man. World champion kickboxing. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's tough stuff. So good for him. So now let's talk about what got you over here in the US. You said at 16 you moved over. What made you make that journey over?
That was I think a long time coming for me and my family. My brother and I were always talking about going to the US, studying at the best schools, and we didn't know how we could make it and how to do it. There was very little information about like applying to prep schools, applying to colleges, and the financial aid, all that stuff. But I think starting from from when I started wrestling, from like 9, 10, 11 years old, we were already talking about how to utilize kind of wrestling and how to get to the US. So and then once I was 15, 16, winning my Belarus national championships, going to European championship, world championships, kind of gaining more confidence. My brother was reaching out to everyone he knew in the US, like all the friends of friends, family, any kind of connections just he could possibly find. And he got in touch with Vulgar Arujev at one point. You know him very well, I'm sure. So thanks to Volgar, we were able to get in touch with one of the NMH coaches from the prep school, Norfolk Mount Herman coaches, Chris Ramirez. And then me and Chris kind of hit it off, and he helped me with the application process and pretty much helped me to get through the test and apply it was very late. It was like a very late application. The school was waiting for me. I was scrambling to pass all the tests without prepping for them. So, but it all worked out, thankfully.
Nice, nice.
Nice.
So taking it back kind of early on in your career, starting out in Belarus, I'm sure being from Eastern Europe, you probably wrestled a lot of folk style, maybe Greco. So what experience did you have in folk style? I assume not a lot. So what's the adjustments? I always like to hear the perspective, especially those coming from kind of overseas. What was the adjustment to folk style? What was that like? And kind of how's your experience been since?
Oh yeah, that was it was tough to adjust for sure. Just wrestling freestyle my whole life and having some experience with Greco. But yeah, folk style was just it's a different beast, different top and bottom game, obviously, and it was a big adjustment for me. I think in high school it didn't really like it wasn't as challenging
Yep.
compared to college because in high school I could still like just rely more on my neutral game and don't really worry that much about top bottom. And but then once I got to college, especially the heavyweight weight class, then I realized that like being very good on like in terms of folk style, getting off bottom and being able to ride some guys and get that extra point, the extra riding time was very very important and very crucial in some matches. So I had to work on that a lot. I think a lot more in college than I had to compared to high school. So
So
yeah,
you a folk style now guy? Or you still prefer freestyle?
I still prefer for freestyle.
Yeah.
Freestyle, is, it's my first love. Can't
Yep.
forget
Your
that.
roots. That's your roots. So let's talk about college. First school you went to, you obviously, did good on those tests, right? You figured them
Yeah.
out. You went to Harvard, huh? Tell us about that experience at that school.
Yeah, I think Harvard was great. In terms of schoolwork, it was challenging, obviously, but I got to give credit to my prep school because they actually prepared me very well to succeed in college and to have that kind of routine in place. And just I was just already used to a big amount of work, like on a day-to-day basis. So college didn't seem much different. It was just more about managing time and being more open to social opportunities, to spending time with teammates. You still live in the city, like you have time like to go out, meet friends, stuff like that. But then you also have to dial in, get your 2-3 workouts per day, go to classes, do your schoolwork. So just the time management piece was very crucial in both in prep school and in college. And just in general, Harvard was awesome. It's an exceptional school with great people, very good people, very nice people. The team there was awesome, coach wise, Coach Muzaffar, Coach Shaptak was there my first couple of years, so it was awesome. I mean, I got to work with a lot of good coaches over my career. Maybe the sparring situation, or it's not like Big Ten level wrestling, so there are some downsides to going to Harvard, but I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't do it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you got that Harvard degree. And real quick before we go to the next question, early on in your career at Harvard, so you didn't quite, I think you missed a year due to injury. We had the COVID year, and we know that the Ivies kind of took it back. Was that tough during that time when you're at Harvard, where you were hurt and you couldn't wrestle that year, and seeing that? What was it like to come back that last year, make it to kind of that blood round your last year at Harvard?
Yeah, it was tough because I think in terms of wrestling at nationals, it's always good to get that experience early on in your career and to get that first tournament out of the way. And I felt good like prior to nationals my freshman year when they canceled it like a week before. Then the next year we didn't wrestle. I got injured my third year, my junior year. So there were a lot of ups and downs during those years, and it made the last year I think a little more special and maybe more demanding in terms of just the schoolwork and the pressure and there was a lot of things that was going on, and I had to really focus and dial in on wrestling and just try to perform, try to do my best. But I think it was just harder to do in general when it's your first time, first shot, first and the last shot in in the Harvard wrestling singlet. So yeah, but it was a good experience. It was a good experience. I didn't All American that year, but it is what it is.
You came close. Yep, you came close. I think you were as high as ranked sixth that year, and obviously, we'll get into what you did last year. So, but kind of picking up on you talking about your studies and your academic accolades, and obviously going to Harvard, studying business at Rutgers, which if anybody knows, Rutgers is one of the best business schools, I think, publicly wise in the nation. Sometimes we joke that people respect Rutgers more outside of New Jersey than they are in Jersey. Those are just people to get accepted there, but I kid. But obviously, academics are very important. Your business mind's important, so kind of looking forward in that future once you're done with your career, kind of talk to us about what you're thinking about when you're done with school. Do you want to go into finance? Is that kind of what you're thinking? And just kind of talk us through some of that.
Yeah, that's pretty much still the plan right now, going into finance world after I finish my last year of wrestling, last year of school. I did masters of supply chain analytics my last year, and then this year I'm doing masters of financial analysis too. So
Nice.
2 years. Uh, it is challenging. It's not like a regular pace for especially for grad students and for transfers, but it's I think I'm used to it, and yeah, I'm just trying to take the most out of this opportunity. So yeah.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Awesome. So then let's talk about, you graduated from Harvard. What attracted you to Rutgers? What made you make that decision? We're glad you did. So what made you make that decision to come to RU?
Yeah. It's a Big Ten school. There's a great reputation for Rutgers, and Coach Pritzloff was the one who basically recruited me. And unfortunately, he's now in Columbia, but yeah, he was very persistent in recruiting. He was calling me, checking up on me all the time, and yeah, he played a big part in the recruiting process. But also, again, just after talking to Coach Goodell, after seeing the facilities and the sparring partners and all the resources that Rutgers has, that was a big factor for me. Also, the great business school, as you already discussed, that when on my visit, I was able to talk to professors, to deans, and like all the very important people in the business school that you usually don't see and don't meet.
Yep.
During the year or even during recruitment visits. So that was great. And the proximity to New York was also another factor for me. Just not being somewhere in the middle of nowhere, being closer to the city, closer to the financial hub, which is kind of where I want to spend my early working career. So yeah, all of those factors kind of mixed in together and made Rutgers a perfect choice for me.
Nice. You think it, so that's where you want to be in the city after you're done in New Brunswick, or do you want to do that little stop at Hoboken or go right in the city?
Well, you can live in Hobo. I'm going to tell you what you want to do.
Yep.
I'm not going to tell you. A lot of guys did this. You live in Hoboken, you work in the city.
Yeah,
Quick train ride. That's the way to go. That's my
I heard about that. Yeah, that seems to be a good way to do it for sure.
Yeah. 10 minutes, Yara, it took me to get into the city. And we had a nice, two of us had a nice big open floor plan, nice high ceilings. I could have touched that in New York City. So, but, obviously the city that doesn't sleep is great as well. So whatever you're going to do, you've been doing it right so far. So, speaking of things you're doing right, obviously you came to Rutgers. We agree with that. What else do you like? So we talk about the academics. We talked, we just started talking about we haven't even really gotten into your career here, the accolades you've done, but what else maybe that you like about Rutgers, socially or anything, just kind of teammates, kind of what else that we don't know about RU that attracts you?
Yeah, I think it was hard to kind of learn all of the little things and all the details, like just based on the couple calls and the college and the official visit. But as I spent already some time in Rutgers, I appreciate the connections I made here, the people I met, and I think that's a big factor too, because with wrestling and with school, all that, you usually don't have a lot of free time. So if you don't get like into good group, if you're not comfortable with the people around you, your teammates, your coaches, and like the support staff that we have, then it's going to be a really tough season and really tough year for you. Fortunately, we have great guys on the team, great coaching staff, so can't complain about that. I have very good relationship with some of the guys, especially John Poznansky, as I already talked to you guys earlier before. So yeah, I think all of that definitely helps helps an athlete to kind of stay positive and stay like in a good spirit during the year.
Nice. Yeah, you definitely need that. You need the camaraderie with teammates and friends around the college. It's all good. Well, listen, we're going to close out this episode. We're going to come back on the other side. We're going to make this a 2-part series. We'll be back on the other side. Make sure you guys follow the show on Instagram. Follow us on Spotify, all the major platforms we're on. And we'll be back soon, everyone.